Hello everyone. In this tutorial, I'll walk you through the process of creating hair simulation. Before we begin, you'll need to prepare two files. The first is a hair FBX with rig already completed. The second is an FBX containing the rigged hair along with a proxy mesh. Let's take a quick look at these files. The first file contains the hair mesh and the scalp mesh. As you can see, the rig has already been completed and the skin weights have been painted. Now let's look at the second file. This FBX contains the hair, the scalp, and the proxy mesh. The proxy mesh must share the same rig as the original hair mesh. As you can see, both mesh deforms in the same way because they use the same skin weights. Since the polygon counts are different, the deformation won't match perfectly. However, the proxy mesh should follow the original hair as closely as possible by copying the skin weights. Now let's talk about the proxy mesh. The original hair is usually a high-quality, high-polygon model. Because of its complexity, it's not suitable for running close simulation directly. There are also performance considerations. Instead, a neural engine performs simulation on the proxy mesh, which is much simpler, low-polygon mesh. When creating the proxy mesh, it only needs to roughly match the overall shape of the original hair. As you can see, the silhouette is very similar. The proxy mesh is simplified, single-sided, low-polygon mesh. There's one important thing to keep in mind when painting the hair skin weights. These particular bones should not have any skin weight assigned to them. Exclude these bones when creating the hair rig. Once both files are ready, you're ready to move into the ModKit. For this tutorial, we'll use adult female hair L009 as our example. Create a new mod project. Then click Skip. Next, import the FBX file we prepared earlier. From the skeletal mesh hair category, import the FBX that contains the proxy mesh. Once the import is complete, the skeletal mesh will appear in the mesh folder. Since this is a sample set, we'll use the materials provided with the ModKit. Copy the hair and scalp materials, then assign the hair material to the hair mesh and the scalp material to the scalp mesh. Before continuing, temporarily hide the joints. When creating the simulation, do not generate the closing data from the original hair mesh. Instead, create it from the proxy mesh. Right-click the proxy mesh, choose Create Closing Data From section, search for hair, and assign the hair physics assets. At this point, closing data will only be created for LOD0. Right-click the proxy mesh again, select Create Closing LOD From section, and create LOD1 using the Remap option. Once LOD1 has been created, you can disable the material assigned to the proxy mesh. Next, switch to LOD0 and apply the closing data you just created to the original hair mesh. Repeat the same process for LOD1. Now return to LOD0, select the original hair mesh, and click Close Paint. You'll see the proxy mesh that we created earlier. This is where you'll paint the simulation weights. Avoid using values that are too high, as they can make the hair move too aggressively. Start with moderate values and adjust them gradually. If you're not sure which area of the proxy mesh you're painting, change the brush size and toggle the visualization on and off. You can identify the correct area by watching which part of the mesh moves. Continue painting the lower sections as needed. Once you've finished painting, switch to the Smooth tool, set the strength to 1, and smooth the painted areas. You can either use the Smooth button or brush over the mesh manually. The goal is to create a smooth transition between the painted regions. Now play the simulation. You should see the hair moving naturally. If the movement still feels too strong, reduce the skin weights and test again. After lowering the values, the motion should become more natural. If the hair still feels too dynamic, you can fine-tune it in Chaos Cloth config. The available settings include mass properties, material properties, stretch properties, collision properties, environment properties, animation properties. If you're new to closed simulation, it may be difficult to know where to start. A good approach is to use the sample assets provided with the ModKit as a reference, then gradually adjust the values while testing. One of the most important settings is anim drive under the animation property section. When anim drive is set to 0, the simulation has full control over the hair, resulting in much stronger movement. When it's set to 1, the simulation influence becomes 0, and the hair follows the bone skin weights completely. This setting controls the balance between closed simulation and the original skin weighting. Finding the right balance will produce much more natural hair motion. If the simulation is too strong, the hair may become unstable and jitter excessively. Start by adjusting anim drive, then fine-tune the movement further using the damping settings. You'll also need to revisit the skin weights throughout the process. Hair simulation is rarely completed in a single pass, so continue making small adjustments until you're satisfied with the results. At this point, the skin weights have only been applied to LOD 0. Switch to LOD 1, right-click, and select Rebuild a Set Parameter Mask to copy the same weight data. Continue testing the simulation while making small adjustments. For this tutorial, we'll match the settings used by the sample asset. If the material makes it difficult to inspect the simulation, you can temporarily change the view mode. You can also move the bones while testing. Even if you modify them, they'll return to their original position when you reset or reopen the set. Once you're satisfied with the simulation, save your work. Then verify that the clothing data has been applied correctly. Under LOD0, check the hair material and confirm that the clothing data is assigned. Repeat the same check for LOD1. You can also verify this by right-clicking the mesh. If the menu displays Remove Clothing Data, the clothing data has been applied successfully. If it hasn't been applied yet, you'll see Apply Clothing Data instead. Finally, remember that the imported FVX still contains the proxy mesh. Re-import the skeletal mesh using a new FVX that contains only the final hair mesh without the proxy mesh. As you can see, the Lambert material that was assigned to the proxy mesh is now gone. This completes the final cleanup process. Before finishing, make sure the clothing asset has been applied correctly. If you see a message indicating that the skeletal mesh has changed, simply click OK to continue. Now open the hair molding wizard and assign your skeletal mesh. Review all of the required settings, including the character's gender, age group, thumbnail, and material assignments. Once you've confirmed that everything is set up correctly, package the mod. Next, launch the game and open the mods menu. Select the package mods. Go to the Hair tab and equip the hair mod you just created. If everything has been set up correctly, you'll see the hair simulation is working as expected. This concludes the hair simulation tutorial.